Okay, I'm gonna tell you the 4 things that I wish I had done a little bit differently when I was building my extension clientele. So if you don't know me, my name is Katie Agahi and I created Peace Hair Co. I was fed up with extensions that just like shrunk a lot in length and were tangly by their next appointment. And I just seen a lot of hair brands, big brands, quality go way downhill. And so I decided to make my own brand. And I loved it so much, I thought others might love it. And I put it online one day back in June 2022, and it blew up like wildfire. And so I am extremely blessed to be able to be surrounded by a niche that I love. I live and breathe extensions, and it's so cool to be surrounded by artists that also have that same mindset. But then I love to teach new artists and like cosmetology students and even a bunch of hairstylists who are, I don't want to say older, but like they've been doing hair for a long time and they want to get into the extension game as well. Like I love teaching. So that's why I wanted to make a quick video on the 4 things that I wish I had done differently when I was building up my extension clientele. For those of you who don't know, I've also moved cities and states quite a bit. As I'm from Texas, I moved up to Washington. I moved down to Texas, and Texas is so big, mind you. So it's like 13 hours from one side to another. And so I'm moving like 3 to 4 hours away from different places. And so I really had to rebuild my clientele. And so I've gotten really good at what works and what doesn't and what you need to change and switch whenever you're moving to different areas. So here are some things. Number 1, I wish I would have showed up more. So I am definitely camera shy. I'm getting way better at it, but I wish I would have shown my face a little bit more, not because I wanted to do a cute dance or be funny in a video, but because the personal level that brings to somebody whenever they're nervous about getting extensions or going to a hair salon. So when I see somebody's face on, say, Instagram, and I see it constantly, like whether it's in a picture or a reel, or they're just showing up in their story, like it doesn't have to be anything like really big, drawn out, or like a really great picture of yourself, but just showing up in your daily stories and maybe doing like a live, you feel like you get to know that person. Like there's definitely a lot of stylists that I follow, and I just feel like I kind of know them because I see everything that they're doing. They're showing up, they make me feel comfortable. And then the following days, I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this person in a minute. Maybe they haven't popped up on my feed, so I like search for them. I'm like, I wonder what content they've created or what new reel they have out. And so it's a good way to get people to remember you, to want to look back at your page to see what you've been up to, and also to feel comfortable with you. The next thing I would do is hire a social media manager. I should have done this like years and years ago. I have a social media manager now, and it's like literally the best thing I've ever done. I love creating content, and so I would have a lot of content, but I was not very good about actually posting it. I would be really good for like a week or so, and then I would have really long days behind the chair. I would do like all the errands after work, go out to dinner, maybe watch a movie, have family time, and so by the time I got ready to post, I was just so exhausted, and I would just like push it to another day. And then that would happen day after day after day. So I would be really good for like 2 weeks, really bad for like a week, week and a half. And so consistency is huge when you're trying to build a clientele. Instagram is really smart. Like the algorithms, they know when you're consistent and when you're pushing certain content. They also look at your hashtags and who you're tagging and like what you've written in your caption. So that way, like when people search for hair extensions, especially like in a certain state or city, like it's pushing your content to them. So you want to constantly be pushing your content to them. And if you're trying to find a social media planner, I highly suggest like looking in your local area just to see maybe there's somebody that you know or a friend of a friend. But also you can look at the app Fiverr, and there are a bunch, like if you need editing, if you need social media planner, if you need literally anything, somebody to write you a blog, you can find it on there. And so that's where I would kind of start your search. If you don't have, I always like to use local small businesses, but if you don't have somebody like that in your area, then I would check out Fiverr. And you're gonna notice like your impressions are gonna change, like the amount of people that you're reaching. They can do ads for you. They can create graphics for you. Literally, it's game changing, and it's really not that expensive. Like, a lot of people are like, well, I'm not making a whole lot right now, and so I'm like trying to save that money or spend it on, I don't know, whatever. But I think that it's so important to reinvest into your business. So say it's like somebody who's like $300 a month, right? Well, what if that person gives you a client and that client comes in every 6 weeks and is paying for their extension install, extension move ups? Like that cost like evens out, gives you more content to push out. And then that creator, I mean, that social media planner is going to keep help bringing in people for you. So it definitely like evens out. I mean, there's all different budgets available. And so you have to do something that makes sense for you. But I'm telling you, once you like invest in your business, what you put into it, you get out like twofold at least. So you have to kind of like think about it that way, because it is scary. And you can also sign like a month contract, 2 month, 3 month contract. It doesn't have to be for everything. You can also just try it. But that is one thing I wish I would have done sooner, like probably 7 years ago. I think my career would have blown up even faster and bigger than it did. So moving on to number 3, I would have used more models. So I never used any models. I think I used like maybe 1 or 2, but I never really advertised like, hey, I need like 12 models like to get extension people in, just because I was kind of on the fence about devaluing my business. Like I don't like to discount. I think it's better to add value and say like, hey, instead of like running a special and discounting yourself, I would run a special and be like, hey, you get a deep conditioning mask, but they're coming in for like a bigger service. Does that make sense? Like, I just want to add value into my brand. And so I never wanted to discount, but I do think I would have grown faster if I had done more models. Because when you start your extension business, it is slow at the beginning. Like, people will be interested. You can get people in. I use my mannequin a lot, like all the time, because especially moving from place to place, I didn't have anybody to work on. And so I use my mannequin all the time to show like my beadwork and like how extensions can be worn into a ponytail and how you take out the beads and what the different extensions look like. And so I was really teaching my clients, but I think if I would have just like did like a model call like once a quarter, I think that would have like pushed me even more so into having like extension clients quicker. I feel like, again, this is like a totally different topic, but I feel like you still need to price yourself at a certain point, because once you get to a certain point, I feel like, I'm just gonna say it, I feel like whenever you charge a lot, you're worth like the product, like there's so much that goes into it in education. When you charge your worth and you think that's expensive and people are not gonna pay it, you're wrong. Like, people will pay it. So for me, like, say for example, I wanna get a massage, and a massage is usually like $1 a minute. And so I'm like, okay, $60 for a massage is like average price. And if somebody does like added value and does like a $90 massage, but it has like these special like stones or something, I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I'm gonna splurge, I'm gonna do that. I know what I'm paying for. I know the value, I know like the cost. But if somebody is like discounting it for like $40 for an hour, I'm gonna be like, why are they doing that? Like, it's kind of off-putting to some people, because extensions specifically are a luxury service, and so they expect to pay a bigger price. There are lots of people who want hair extensions and they want it for cheaper. And so typically, and I literally hate saying this because it's not all clients, but typically when you go cheaper with your extension clients just to get people in the door, you're A, not going to make as much money, and B, those clients typically, in my experience, are not very nice. They want more from you, and they're more demanding, and they're cheaper. And I've noticed whenever I have higher end clients, they are extremely kind. They are down for like anything. If a mistake happens, they're like, oh, it's cool, I know you're gonna take care of me. But say like a mistake happens with like somebody who you've severely discounted, they expect so much out of you for every time. They're like not appreciative, and they get upset quickly, and they're the people who like want refunds, and I don't know, it's a whole ordeal. So that's kind of where I drew the line about like discounting and adding value to your service. It's just my opinion, just what I've seen over the last like 15 years. So yeah, I wish I would have used models more, but I definitely would have charged like, you know, like an install fee, and make sure that they knew like how much a row move up was, and treat them as a regular client going forward. But that first install, maybe do like some sort of little bit of a special. We could talk about that later. That's like a whole nother video. Anyway, so now this video is turning really long. But number 4, I wish I had had my SEO set up sooner. So I had a really good Instagram page. I had a good setup with my name, my city, all the things. But I was nervous to switch over completely to extensions, even though that's what I wanted to do. I wanted that niche clientele. I specifically wanted to do extensions, but I didn't want to like hurt my chances of getting anybody else, like say that wanted a highlight or a balayage. And so I did not put like extension artist like in my name. And that's something that I wish I would have done. Eventually I changed all of my branding over to blonding plus extensions. So I kind of like, I started with extensions, and then I changed it to like my branding, and then I was like, I just do extensions. And so it would have been cool, like if I hadn't taken years in between that branding to get into the groove and jump and mindset of, I can do solely extensions if that's what I want. Like I can go out there and make my dreams possible. Like I was just nervous about hurting other people's feelings. I didn't want to, I wanted everybody to feel included. And so I would have set up my bio a little bit differently. All my hashtags would have been like my city, hair extensions. I would have only like talked about hair extensions on my Instagram page instead of every like fifth or sixth post. Which we can also talk about that later, because that's important. But because people only have like 1 second when they look at your Instagram profile, they're just gonna look, they're not gonna keep scrolling, they're not gonna like click on all the pictures and read all the captions. But I wish I had shown up, kind of like my first post, I wish I would have shown up more and really like dove in to what I really wanted to do. Because honestly, like if you're thinking about extensions and you're taking a class, take 2 classes, take 3 classes, like understand the ins and outs, understand like the business part of things, like how to photograph, because I say dive in, like jump in. If that's what you want to do, you can totally do it and not be on the fence about it. So my Instagram post would have had like my name, extension artist, like who I was certified through, the different types of extensions. I would have had my highlights like extension care, like do you want extensions, like all these different questions that they can ask, and they can see it right there. I also would have had a more direct call to action. Instead of like a hey, book with me now, here's my booking link, which is great. I would have had them go straight to my Google form, which would have had my extension questionnaire, like have you worn extensions before? Are you interested in extensions? Do you need color and extensions? I would have been a lot more direct with my SEO and profile, and that in turn would have brought me more extension clients faster. So let's go back over this. Number 1, I would have showed up more. I would have showed my face. I wouldn't have been as shy. You just kind of have to get over it, because honestly, like the more that you do it, like the easier that it gets, and it doesn't have to be anything perfect. You don't have to have people like real people, right? So you don't have to be like this perfect image, because we're not like that all the time. And so say like somebody sees like a perfect image of you all the time on Instagram, but then they come in and you're like in sweatpants and a sloppy bun and no makeup, like it just kind of like mismatches. I would just totally be real, be yourself, show up. Even if it's like your personal life, I don't feel like you should share your personal life on your Instagram grid, but in your stories, I think it's nice to see like that personal side of things, like if you're going bowling, or like what your dog's name is, or your kids. That's another way to connect with people. I would hire a social media manager. I would just do a trial, see how it works for you, see if you mesh really well with that person, because I think that they can carry your brand very far and consistently. And then I would have used models. I would have done like a model call. I would have figured out exactly like what they needed, what I could do for them, and then make sure that I took good photos, and so that way I could have like so much content and that kind of be part of the package. And then I would have had a really good SEO setup to where I was blatantly extensions on Instagram. That's my favorite platform. The same goes for Facebook, TikTok. A lot of people, they see that you're a hairstylist or that you do hair, but specifically like niching down and just like hammering this in, like, hey, I do extensions. If you're thinking about it, I'm your girl. Like, I think that's super important. So, thanks for coming along with me. If you have any on this long journey, I thought this was gonna be like a 2-minute video, but I could literally talk about business and extensions and all the things forever. So if you have any questions, please comment below and then I will answer them in another video. If you're wanting to get into extensions, I would definitely check out our classes. It's my hair company's Peace Hair Extension Co. You can find our education at www.peacehairedu.com. It has all of our classes and courses, both online and in person. Follow the WEF Nerd. He's on TikTok and Instagram. He's our director of education. He's amazing. And at _fearless hair, she's our creative director. She is awesome. Like, I want to take one of her photography classes, because I'm telling you, she's good. She's good at what she does. I'm going to send you all of the links in the description and information below. You can follow us on all of our social channels. And if you want to hear more about business of extensions or have any questions, hit that notification bell and we'll be happy to like answer all the things. Hope you have a great day.